And our guests this morning are the Athletics' Anita Abayomi and Sky Sports reporter Mark McAdam. Good morning to both of you. Now, England's hopes of qualifying for the World Cup were dealt a blow. They only drew at home to Hungary. They are still top of the group, but it's not as comfortable as Gareth Southgate would have liked. Right, Anita, I'm told you were at the game. How disappointed were you with the performance?
God, you know what? I travel about 2 hours to get to Wembley, and I was thinking we started off so great. I saw the line-up on the train, and I was thinking, yeah, it's definitely going to be a cracker. And it was just a little bit underwhelming, to say the least, but I'll give the boys their props. They did keep us entertained, especially during the first half, kept us on our toes quite a lot, especially Jack Grealish. I thought Jack Grealish was absolutely sensational in the first half, but then it just came down to end product, and it was just miss after miss after miss, and I feel like we created enough chances, but just no one on the end of those chances to kind of put the ball in the back of the net, and that's where it just became very disappointing. And then giving away the penalty, you can imagine the stadium just like, oh, come on, like we just missed a couple of chances and then we give away the penalty at the other end and we just couldn't see a way back from there. So it was quite underwhelming, to say the least, but at least the first half kept us entertained with Jack Grealish, showboating and all of that stuff. But all of the players, they just did not look into it at all.
Mark, what about team selection? Only Declan Rice is a de facto holding defensive midfielder. Otherwise, England very much front stacked. Any complaints there?
I don't think so. I think as an England fan, you always want to see them front stacked. You want to see our attacking players on the pitch. You want to see us go and score goals and look dynamic in the final third. It was obviously a little bit of a change-up from the European Championships, where Gareth Southgate went for the two holding midfielders in Calvin Phillips and Declan Rice. He decided to go with 2 8s, which is a little bit more advanced, which is great to see on paper. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. But certainly no complaints over team selection. When you look at the 11 that started, there's probably 8 or 9 of those that would be regular first-team starters in the first game of the World Cup. So only a couple of fresh faces in there. But I think it's so important that you've got that strength in depth, because when you look at the front three who didn't really fire last night, you want to see players that can come off the bench and impact the game. And that's where minutes is crucial, particularly at international football level, where you want players fresh, ready to go. And when they do come onto that pitch, they can have a big effect on the game.
Mark, how confident are you that England will still top the group? It's Albania at home next, but Albania are going well. But then it's San Marino away. They're the final 2 games next month.
I'm confident. I'm really confident in this England setup and what Gareth Southgate is doing. I think obviously the San Marino game is a game that you would point to the banker 3 points. The Albania game, slightly more tricky. But we know, as we've seen over the last few years with England, when they need to pick up a result, they can do it. When they need to perform, they can do it. It's a case of remembering we're still top of the group. We're still clear. We're still heading in the right direction, playing some great football. There's a really good young team there that are together. There's a great spirit amongst the England squad at the moment. There's a belief from the fans. And I think it's only a matter of time before we get that World Cup qualification confirmed.
Now, Anita, as Tom mentioned, you were at Wembley last night. The game marred by violence in the stands. Hungary fans seen throwing punches, attempting to kick officers as well. One fan arrested on suspicion of a racially aggravated offence towards a steward. And there were fewer than 1,000 away fans at Wembley. Most of them were Hungarians living in England. How did you see that?
I was actually right above them. It was quite terrifying, if I'm being honest with you. So they literally turned around as the players took the knee, and they were booing, and it was quite terrifying. They were looking at everyone. They were looking at all the England fans, literally turning their back towards the pitch, and just making some remarks. And it wasn't soon after the match actually kicked off that everything else kicked off in the stands, and you kind of just want to stay away from that. You kind of just want to stay focused on the match. But I can tell you for free, like, I missed probably the first couple of minutes because I was literally with my mate. We were just, like, as being female, both of us were females, we were just there kind of wondering, okay, what should we do? Like, should we maybe make an exit? Should we still sit down? Should we just try and enjoy the match? And then the stewards and then some policemen came in, and they kind of handled the situation the best way that they could. But again, throughout the match, it was just a little bit daunting because they were making gestures at all of the England fans. They were looking back at us, and they were booing us, and they were saying some quite horrendous things. And it's crazy to think that these are actually people who may live amongst us. So yeah, it was very, very daunting, to say the least.
Hey, Mark, no one should be made to feel like Anita did there, fearful a football match, and imagine if you're taking your whole family there as well.
I'm gutted to hear that. You know, the fact that Anita went to the home of football, went to Wembley, and was made to feel like after 2 or 3 minutes that should we leave the match? Is it safer if we walk out of this stadium? You know, in 2021, that is absolutely disgraceful that someone should feel like that going to a football game. We need to make it clear as well that, you know, England fans were the subject of some issues over the course of the European Championships. I went to the final against Italy and England. I felt very, very unsafe outside the stadium as well. I was very scared and nervous going into that cup final. But the fact that yet again, just a few months down the line, we're talking about these same issues. And we need to make this really clear. You know, the voices about getting rid of discrimination, getting rid of racism, and making this game fair and equal are going to last a lot longer than those racist voices. This is not going to go away. You heard Declan Rice say it after the game last night. This is not going to stop. These messages of support for Black Lives Matter and equal rights and making this game diverse and inclusive for a long, long, long time are going to be here for a long time as well. And I think that's important to get that message out, that just because there's a few people that stand up for things that they believe in, that don't share the rest of the world, you know, the ideas of the rest of humanity, that they're going to be overheard. They are not going to be overheard. And this is going to be around for a long time to come. And it's so sad to hear Anita say that.
Yeah, and Anita, sadly, it doesn't stop there, because right at the start of the game, the Hungary fans also booed England players for taking a knee, even holding up a banner, some of them, in protest against the anti-racism gesture. I mean, sadly, and, you know, Mark puts it so succinctly there, it's not a surprise. It's not in any way forgivable, but it's not a surprise. Were you at all surprised by that?
No, actually, when I was on the train with some England fans going to the game, they were literally saying they're going to boo the knee, aren't they? And it was actually quite nice to see, like, some of the England fans on my train carriage saying we have to drown them out if they do try to boo the knee. So there was enough confidence in the England fans to stand up for what is right and stand up for these rights that we are protesting against. So it was nice to see that England fans, but they were trying to drown out the boos, but because I was literally directly above them, it was kind of hard to ignore the fact that they were booing directly at the knee. And again, they turned towards all of us to boo, to show solidarity that they are against the gesture. So it was very frightening. I'll say that it was very frightening. We still have a long way to go as a society, as a nation as well, for ourselves. But at the same time, we need to look at other nations too. And it can't go unnoticed that this is a world problem. It's a world issue, and something needs to be done. It needs to be more stricter. And the caliber of fans that they keep letting in for these Hungary games, they are the same culprits. They are the same type of fans wearing these black hoodies, that they know these type of fans. So why are they still being let into the stadiums? Why are they still being allowed to cause such havoc? We saw the fights break out. Not even 5 minutes into the match, fights were being broken out. Police officers had to come in with their batons. Why are we not one step ahead at this moment in time? There are just so many questions to ask, and it's getting kind of tiring having to ask these questions. So I guess from now on, it's more of, what are we doing to stop this from happening in future, not what are we going to do about it when it happens. So yeah, I do feel a lot more safer knowing that England fans, they were doing their best to drown out the booing, but at the same time, we still need to make sure this does not happen again.